Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Thanks again for joining us as we have an interview today with PA of the Year 2020, Alice Gilkes from Avison Young. Alice, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much, Dan. How are you doing?
I'm very good. We are talking today on the day that the pubs have reopened, hospitality's reopened, hairdressers has reopened, beauty salons. Are you feeling positive? Are you feeling, that things, have you got any reservations booked in anywhere? More
Oh,
importantly.
well, I have got some reservations booked in, but I popped out at lunchtime and could see people at Las Iguanas on the corner outside eating their lunch. And I was thinking, why haven't I booked something in for today? Like, some people are obviously very on it. And yeah, maybe it's going to take a while for us all to start creeping out again.
Yeah, I agree. I think, comfort levels, people are at different stages, aren't they? And when I went out today, I saw some of the restaurants absolutely packed.
Yeah,
Um, but it's just nice that we've actually got a choice again, and we've actually got
yeah,
like a,
I know.
oh, shall we do that or shall we go here? But we're not here to talk about that today. We're here to talk
No,
about your experience and
yeah.
you of the awards in 2020. So just to give our viewers a little bit of a synopsis of you, your background, how you kind of got to where you are today. It'd be great to learn a little bit more about you.
Yeah, sure. My first job out of university was at a private American university in London as an events coordinator. And I guess it basically formed the foundation of my experience in sort of admin and sort of organization and events and marketing, basically. It was at the time it was a very cushy job because there was a lot of travel involved in it, because it was a sort of cultural affairs role within the university, and there was a lot of American students. So I was pretty lucky, but I had to get sort of more serious at one point, and I used that foundation to basically get the job that I was looking for at the time, which was events and marketing in the third sector. So for the next 9 years, I worked in events and marketing in the charity sector, and had an amazing time doing that, and had loads of opportunities doing loads of fundraising and working for some really great projects. And then I moved back to Birmingham, and then, yeah, I walked into the job at Avison Young as a PA, which was obviously very different, and went from the charity sector into the private sector. So kind of, it was a big step change into the sort of corporate side of things. But my experience working with corporates in charity kind of set me up really well for that. So yeah, so I guess, yeah, and here I am now.
And how many years have you been with Avison Young now?
It was my fourth anniversary in November, I think. It was like my fourth or fifth. Yeah, I think it was my fourth. But yeah, so 4 years so far. Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Fantastic. Thank you. So we've known each other for some years now, and I've known some of your colleagues for some years. So I know how much I was banging on the door for you all to
Mm.
enter the awards. But tell us, how did you hear about them? And when you did hear about them, what was going through your mind?
Yeah, well, I was talking to Sarah Arnott about this, my fellow colleague here at Avison Young, and we were trying to remember, because the main things I can remember was that you came to see us at the office. I think it was Narinda who introduced us, but I'm not entirely sure how that happened. But it started off when we came to an event at the Park Regis, the lunchtime networking event, which was really super and a really great intro. And it kind of evolved from there, I think. I think that's when you came afterwards to chat with us, and we sort of, I didn't, we were, it was a great moment, actually, because we'd been starting to come together more as a secretarial team at the time in Birmingham, it kind of just, the timing was perfect, how we kind of, the two things collided, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I know that you've been to the awards. Oh well, Sarah's been to the awards, hasn't
Yeah.
she? Obviously, Narinda's been to the awards in
Yeah.
the past as well. So no, it's great. And I think forgive me, I've got my hay fever's going off. So it's it's difficult today. I'm trying to talk and not sneeze.
No worries.
So yeah, and I think having that interaction together has just been fantastic from within the office. Please I'm so sorry about that. So yeah, so when it was your time, to be nominated, were you nominated or did you complete a self-nomination?
So I was nominated. The first year we did, like, I can't remember how many years we've done it now, but I think we approached it here in quite a democratic way, actually, because there was sort of a good pool of PAs and secretaries, and we sort of went through the nominations the first year, and there was some amazing nominees in that first year who were put forward. And then when it came to the year that I was nominated, the team who were looking at the categories sort of went through them, and then they were in charge of sending out the forms to all of the line managers, similar to how we've approached the process this year. And then the first, I suppose, I really knew about it was when I had the email from the girls that were involved, and they'd said I'd been nominated, and I had the nomination form that my line manager had written out. But at the same time, I was nominated with my team, with Karanjit and Deb, who we were nominated for a team award as well. So yeah, so that was fab, all happening at the same time.
And what was it like? How did you feel, especially reading back what your manager had written about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things that I've been thinking about. What's so good about being involved in the awards actually is that you, even from the nomination, it's a positive process. So even if you don't go any further, if there's anything, you've been able to see what your line manager thinks about you. So when I was nominated, it's a combination of pure fear, but also a lot of gratitude, because you've been given an opportunity to get involved in something. And although you're, like everybody is with these types of things, I assume, is petrified of being put out there and, oh gosh, what, I wonder how this will be and what have I got to do and how do I approach it. With the fact that you've just been nominated, it balanced it out nicely, I think.
Yeah, it's a mixture of excitement, isn't it? And I don't want to use the word fear, but for want of a better word, it's the fear of the unknown.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, what I like to, yeah, okay. What I like to think though is that, I've personally and some of our committee members have been through an awards process. And I think what we try to do, and we'll talk about the process next, is give you as much information as we can on the lead up to the next stages to try and make you feel as comfortable, calm, and and I think the most important thing for PAs and EAs is to feel like organized and that they can plan. And so to have that information in advance. So can you tell everybody, for the purpose of the video, how you found the process as you kind of moved your way through it?
Yeah, well, what you said actually really sort of highlights what I was going to say, which is that the process was a lovely one to be involved in because you felt supported throughout, and you didn't feel like you were being kind of you sort of tricked in any way, that the rug was going to be pulled from under your feet at any point, because and that the process wanted to get the best out of you the whole time. And so the level of information at each level of the process was so good that you felt like you could be prepared. And actually, when it came to doing so obviously there was the shortlisting, and then the first interview, and then the sort of the final interview. You weren't going in, there was no real unknowns, so you just were able to enjoy it, and obviously have nerves, but like anything, but you were able to do your best, because you felt like that's what everybody wanted to get out of you, which was, for you to be able to present yourself in the best way.
So are you used to presenting? Are you used to kind of presentation skills and putting yourself in that? Because so many people will say, oh, Dan, I haven't had an interview for years. So,
Yeah.
so it's not a job interview, is it? Because you're talking through what like you're talking about everything that like the back of your hand. And
Yeah.
how did you feel about those kind of moments?
Yeah, well, you see, that's what I kept telling myself, actually. It was like, this isn't a job interview. This is actually you talking about your day to day, what you've done, and those are it's kind of already, you could be questioned on it at any point, and you'd be able to give an answer because you're so aware of what you've just done and why you did it. And you obviously, I felt very strongly about a lot of the things that I had done in the last year. So, and part of the year before, myself and my colleague Sarah had done a big presentation. And so it was like, oh, good, I get to talk about that presentation and not be absolutely, mouth dry as anything. So I'm so nervous doing a presentation. So, I mean, I've done presentations before for various different things, but this was the first time I'd done an awards presentation. So it was different, but it was one that you could enjoy more than others.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, thank you so much for that. So what was the kind of reaction as you were moving through from different, your colleagues, peers, senior leadership team? How did that, what did you get from them as you were moving through the process?
Yeah, so I suppose, I mean, I guess you kind of keep things quiet to some extent, don't you, when you're involved in something like that? So I wasn't necessarily shouting about it myself, but I'd had support, obviously, from the outset, from AY and from my line manager and from senior leadership. So, and particularly, obviously, from my colleagues in the business and my team. Kieran and Deb, we were obviously doing the team nomination as well, but at the same time. But yeah, I don't know. Everybody was just really genuinely, really, supportive, and just pleased that there's sort of an award process there for our profession.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's, I think when we first thought about doing the awards, and we always, I mean, Manchester is awesome. They have an amazing award ceremony, and we walked in and said if we could ever duplicate something like this, it would be amazing. And I think having an award ceremony that's dedicated to a profession that doesn't have anything, there isn't another PA category in the West Midlands award ceremony. This awards night is dedicated to the profession completely. And so it's lovely how we evolve each year. We see the different people coming through, all the different companies that are entering, and it gets even more exciting every year because everyone's kind of buzzing from the last year and they remember it, and then they want to, be part of the journey in whatever way again. And so it's fantastic for us to see. But some people will be watching this and go, okay, I'd love to know a little bit more about what Alice did. So what could you give, if someone was sat here and you know, they were thinking about entering or making a nomination. Could you give people some examples of some of the things that you talked about?
Yeah, sure. I think for me, the year prior had been a very different year in many ways. And so circumstances led to me having opportunities that perhaps I wouldn't necessarily have had in other years, which possibly made it a bit easier for me to, or for us to, for me to sort of pull on elements of my nomination form sort of throughout, which was that we had been just through a big merger at AY and a rebrand. My team had merged as well at the same time. So on an admin side of things, on a PA side of things, there was a lot going on. So, you know, January through to March was crazy because two teams had come together. We had a new CRM system, as well as merging different sets of files and whatnot, like, you know, all those things, plus a new line manager. So I was learning a new the sort of senior leader of my team was new to me, so, and very different from who I'd been working for. So you know, I sort of had two executives that I was having to kind of balance with learning how they were working at the same time as all of the other things going on with the team. So that was happening, but at the same time as that was happening, we was the project that we were working on internally, which was an admin, supporting the admin profession within AY as well. And so I was working with others on pulling together the admin professionals conference, which took place. So, and that basically, we had, you know, I presented a business case to our chief exec and pulled a conference together basically. And yeah, so there, I mean, I could obviously go on about it for ages, but those were the types of things. And so I think sometimes you forget how your day-to-day, because you are doing your day-to-day every day, you forget the skills that you are using and how you're learning and how you're developing. And so when you have a moment to sort of sit back and reflect and write those things down on a piece of paper, you can really surprise yourself as to actually the skills and the experiences that you're having. So if you, so that, I mean, that's why I would encourage anyone to get involved in it, because if anything, it gives you the opportunity to really realize how capable you are, and most likely way more capable than ever you'd give yourself the credit for. So yeah, I think those are the main things that I was doing. So I mean, people's roles are very different depending on the industry that you're working for. So, but if you can just pull out those examples of where you go above and beyond, and along with your day to day, then I think you're on to a winner.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think anyone on here underestimates how long a process that would have taken to get the buy-in, the team on board, you know, the teamwork that goes into that, the communicating with different departments, getting professional speakers in, the budgets, everything. I know, you know, I had a meeting, I had the pleasure of meeting you all for a catch up, and I was like blown away that you wanted to do something like this. And I think it's been great. And I'm glad that it was appreciated so much throughout the whole business as well. So you must feel really proud about that. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So I know we haven't had the face-to-face awards night yet. We are, well, we're just about that close to confirming the venue for this year's awards, which will be amazing. And we are going to make sure that we bring all of the finalists and the winners together from last year, as well as the nominees from this year, which will be great. So what did you think of the virtual night?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was always going to be sort of never the same as meeting physically and, you know, buying a dress, etc., and being around everybody with some fizz in your hands. But to be fair, it was done so professionally, and it was so there wasn't a bit of me that didn't feel supported throughout. So I knew that the online presentation was just going to be done really nicely, and to make you feel like whoever had been involved, whoever had been nominated, whoever had got through, wherever you were in the process, that you were going to feel part of something and feel celebrated. And I think for me that was sort of the main thing, that it didn't matter what the result was necessarily, but I'd been involved, and it was a really nice way to celebrate with all my peers and colleagues like throughout the region on that night from the sofa, and to be involved in it. It was done really, I think, respectfully of everybody. So it was very enjoyable to be part of.
What was your reaction like on the night? Because period year, you wait until the end. So you've watched all the categories, you've supported all the other ones. You
Mm.
know, that comes up at the end.
It's
What was your
Yeah, it's the bizarrest thing, isn't it? Because I've never, won anything like this before. There's that fraction of a second where it sinks in, where it goes from not knowing to knowing. And I won't forget that moment, because there was just complete disbelief. I was laughing so much because I just couldn't believe it, and I was so excited. And my colleagues, that Sarah and Tay and Rinda and Pat and all of those guys that had been involved in the awards themselves previously, we were instantly on a WhatsApp chat, screaming down the phone to each other, because I think everyone felt like, well, what they said was they felt like they had won too, because someone from AY had won. So it felt really joyous that we'd all been involved in it. So yeah, it was very exciting.
I'd love to have been a fly on the wall that night. I really would
Yeah.
have, because I was there, but the night just flew by. I remember I got a gin and tonic and I sat down and I was answering the chat. And then before I knew it, the night had finished. I didn't even have a chance to go and get another drink. And I was sat in my finery with slippers on, like, oh, okay, it's finished now. So no,
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you had that feeling. It's just amazing. And just to kind of round off,
Hmm.
if anyone was, thinking about making a nomination or putting themselves forward, or you get that email in your inbox, don't you? And normally from me, and you'll say, "I've got, come on, we want you to enter the awards this year." And a lot of people will circulate that email around the PA or the assistant community, and sometimes I feel like it doesn't get up to the people that could make the nominations. And also
Mhm.
people can make, colleagues are very welcome to nominate each other. What would you say to anybody that's kind of sat there watching this thinking, who's never thought about nominating before, or being involved? What would you say to them?
Well, I would say that, like all of these things, like the journey is the main thing, because you learn so much throughout it. Even your expectations probably of something like this are one thing, but I would say that the reality is going to be very different, because as soon as you put yourself out there, you are opening yourself up to opportunities, and you never know what you're going to get from it. So you might as well give it a go. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, and I'm almost 100% sure you will feel really thrilled that you gave it a go, and something positive will come out of it, whether you just do a nomination form or whether you get to win one of the categories. yeah, I think that's how I would round that off.
Yeah, fantastic. And then just to finish, has you, has there been any opportunity, for you since you've won the awards? What's kind of happened after post awards?
Yeah, I mean, there's been all sorts of things. I mean, it was the support internally from sort of senior leaders and like line managers and just people around the business, like nationally, saying, well done. And that's really fantastic. I think has really supported the admin just generally, that knowing that there's this going on in Birmingham and there's awards, etc. That's been great. And so that's a kind of sort of a community benefit from being involved in the awards. For me personally, I guess knowing that I've got something on my CV that no one can ever take away, like I've won that and that's mine now, and it's always going to be there, is a lovely feeling. And sort of I've been involved in International Women's Day at AY. We had a panel which was sort of broadcast to our American colleagues as well as European colleagues, and that was fantastic because I was sort of representing the sort of administration team, and the theme of International Women's Day was Choose to Challenge this year, and I was able to kind of put forward that how admin is perceived and how that intertwines with sort of a more sort of a feminist theme of how we're sort of treated, and the history kind of behind that, and and why we are there doing that role and how it is changing. And that was really interesting, because it made me have a real think about that, just what I was going to say. And yeah, I don't think if I'd have been involved in the awards, I'd have been given that opportunity to kind of, represent like that. So
And also,
that's
I think,
good.
and that's amazing. I think also it's a lot to do with, do you feel now that you've got more confidence to be able to do something like that? Because I know how nervous I would be if I was, I used to work for a global company. So if I was streamed out or part of a discussion that was in another
Yeah.
office in another country, I would be so nervous. But,
Yeah.
do you think that's helped and supported you in some way with your confidence as well?
Yeah, definitely, because if you're just it's not necessarily that your opinion like wasn't worth anything before, but maybe you weren't, being asked to just be involved is a compliment in itself. And I suppose when you go through if you've never been on a panel before and then you have that experience, like instantly you've learned 100 things because you've been through that process again. And next time you do a panel or are involved in something like that, you've learned something new, so that you can improve upon and do better next time, and give other people confidence to get involved in that type of thing. I mean, I'm always like encouraging other people that I know to, get involved in those types of things, because if you don't give it a go, you don't know. You might do it and hate it, and that's fine. But at least you know then, and you'll never, what is that expression that people say, is that you'll regret what you didn't do more than regret what you did do. And I think that goes for being involved in the PA Awards just as much as anything else on a day-to-day basis.
Fantastic. And I guess one other thing we need to just cover off before we go is you each year, the PA of the year joins the judging panel.
Well,
And so this year we will be the 6 judges, including you. So how do you feel about being on the judging panel?
well, it's again, it's a role that I will take very seriously, and I really hope that I can do it the justice that it deserves. I'm glad that I will be able to sort of be involved to put people at ease, hopefully, who are, you know, putting themselves forward for something like this and giving it a go. You know, there's no wrong answer. So I just hope that, yeah, I can sort of add my kind of, I don't know, my experience and encourage people to enjoy the process. And when they come to the panel and the judging, that yeah, that I can give it my best.
And I think that is exactly why it's always a pleasure for us to welcome the PA of the year from the year before to the judging panel, because it's a great opportunity for you to get to know the finalists personally.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, there's nothing, you know, getting that friendly face of somebody that you know in the area, just to know that it's in the same situation as you, just the same job as you, just makes you feel better.
Oh, certainly. I mean, Faye was involved in the panel sessions, I think, when I was going through, and then there was other people that I'd also seen from the forum, so you're instantly put at ease. And like I said, yeah, you just feel supported, I think, and so you should be getting involved in something like this so that you can enjoy it and get the most out of it.
Oh, fantastic. And just before we go, because I'm feeling myself sneezing,
I know, before you
apologize. I wanted to share this with you.
Yay! Look at that. Exciting.
So we will be giving you this personally when we can do the trophy presentation, and it'll be great to have the chance to be able to do that with you. So we're very looking forward to seeing you. But Alice, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah.
Congratulations again, and we look forward to catching up with you soon. Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye.